Dear participants, good day to all of you. Today we come to the last part of our unit on rural centered entrepreneurship. We shall be discussing regarding agri-based businesses today. What exactly is agri-business? Agri-business is a broad concept used to describe corporate agricultural enterprises, either individually or collectively. So, these are basically companies involved in one or more stages of the production of crops and livestock. Examples include our R&D organizations, which go into new agricultural resources and methods, they research on that, or the ownership or management of agricultural production facilities such as farmlands and livestock facilities, or the manufacture or distribution of agricultural supplies and equipment such as machinery, feed and fertilizers, or processing or distribution of agricultural products. So, basically agri-business is a concept which takes care of all aspects of production, processing as well as research on agricultural products. So, the expanse of agri-business basically includes all activities within the agricultural, food and natural resource industry involved in the production of food and fiber. And individual agri-businesses may sell items to farmers for production, provide services to other agricultural businesses, or be engaged in the marketing, transportation, processing and distribution of agricultural products. Broadly, we divide agri-business into three sectors. The first is agri-business input. So, whatever the seeds which we provide to the farmers for sowing, the fertilizers for their fields, the machinery required for going into the process of agriculture, the gasoline or the fuel required for agriculture and the financing part of it, that is all part of agri-business input. Agri-business output is the second sector, and transportation, the selling of products, the storing of products, which today includes cold storages and different kinds of products which can make perishable goods in terms of agriculture to be stored for a longer period of time, and the inspection part, that is all part of agri-business output. Parallelly to this input and output process, there is something called agri-services. So, whatever research is being conducted in our laboratories by private companies or by government institutes, which introduce different innovative methods of producing and marketing of food, and this research also leads to safeguarding of farmers and their produce by offering new and new solutions through which the product which is being produced in the farms, that can be safeguarded, and different other specialized services in terms of extension services, that is all part of our agri services. Different government universities, different private companies, they all pitch in to provide these agri services, which is a very critical component in the agricultural sector in the country. Now, what are the opportunities available for developing of agri-business industry in India? Food and food processing technologies and equipments is the major part of agri-business in India. You have to have specialized solutions for canning of products, for dairy and food processing, for specialty processing, for packaging. Frozen food and thermo processing is another field where a lot of work is happening. Cold chains and food retailing is something which is picking up in a big way. Cold chains are required for storage of products. Food retailing is something which today is being done at a highest level in terms of food being even available in malls, food being available through farmer markets and so on. The production, processing and marketing infrastructure and retailing, contract farming and supply chain management. So, all these things, they are providing opportunities in agri-business industry in India. You can go in for production of either food grains or cash crops. You can go in for processing of those food grains or cash crops. Marketing is another aspect which is giving a lot of opportunities. Then providing of infrastructure for doing all these things is one sector where you can invest as an agribusiness. Retailing of agricultural products, today organic products are also being retailed and they are being sold like anything. Then contract farming, wherein professional farming is done by companies by providing seeds and different kinds of inputs through which they can get the required output from the farms, which they can further use for processing. Supply chain management is another aspect wherein agribusiness supply chain can be managed in a professional way. So, major challenges which we perceive in the development of agriculture sector in India include shortage of material and power. Material shortage is less in terms of shortage of raw material, but more in terms of shortage of raw material of the required quality, because agricultural produce, as we all know, is subjected to vagaries of nature also. So, getting the right produce for processing is something which is an issue. Then power is in any case an issue, power for the agribusiness sector in terms of continuous power, adequate power. Then lack of adequate finance sometimes becomes an issue for this sector. Marketing facilities are inadequate in certain areas. Organization and management may be weak in certain companies, especially where the entrepreneur is not professionally trained. Lack of trained personnel for these enterprises is one big issue, and lot of agricultural universities, lot of agricultural institutes, they are looking into it by providing extension services for training of personnel for these industries. Then research and development, even though it is continuous, but still there are certain aspects wherein more research and development is required, especially in terms of the agricultural marketing part of it. Then there are lack of infrastructure facilities, especially in rural areas. If you as a producer try to diversify into a cash crop, possibly storage issues may come in. You are into vegetable, how to market that as a farmer. Then lack of modern machinery is one aspect, because machinery is expensive and reach for that expensive machinery may not be possible everywhere. Certain industries have been established, but the machinery may not be of global standard. So, the processed produce which they are supplying may not be of the standard which can be exported. Then production problems do creep in due to all these factors which we were discussing. Agricultural products are seasonal. So, for an industry which has to operate throughout the year, they need to have the adequate finance, adequate storage facilities, cold stores or other godowns, so that they can purchase during the season when the produce is being supplied in the market and use it throughout the year. So, if your input is a perishable product, that becomes a big issue. So, a lot of work has to be done in terms of providing safe storage facilities for agricultural input products. There may be other product specific problems depending upon the raw material which you are using and depending upon the market available to you. Then how do we harness the potential of agribusiness in India? Modernization of existing agri infrastructure and creation of new capacities. Government is very sensitive to these things and they are giving it a big push. And modernization of agri infrastructure would not only include modernization of machinery in an agricultural enterprise, but also infrastructure from end to end in terms of marketing, in terms of road infrastructure, in terms of communication infrastructure and in terms of storage infrastructure. Then risk mitigation of agriculture through insurance is something which is required, because agricultural produce, as we were discussing, is subjected to vagaries of nature, and insurance provides some security and people can diversify, people can take risk if they are insured. Credit delivery costs need to be reduced, so that more credit is available to agri businesses and they can move ahead in a positive way. Linkages, especially in terms of credit delivery, need to be strengthened. commercial banks need to be incentivized to provide credit flow in the rural sector, in the agriculture sector. How do we harness this potential? There are certain other aspects here. We need to go in for formation of self-help groups. Many industries are also chipping in, and they are creating these groups. Cooperatives are part of these self-help groups, and they are basically used to reduce distress on the viability of a project in small farmers. So, these self-help groups sometimes are a lifeline for smaller entrepreneurs. Agricultural credit guarantee scheme is very important. Food processing sector needs to be encouraged. In fact, it is being encouraged, and number of food processing zones are being created. Export competitiveness is very important. So, proper machinery, proper inputs in terms of quality agricultural produce being supplied to the agri processing industry is something which is of utmost importance. Government programs and regulations for agribusiness are in place. Numerous government programs are there, numerous regulations for agribusiness are there. Basically, all these programs and regulations are to facilitate the agribusiness sector, and any entrepreneur who wants to get into this sector, he can tap into these programs and he can work within these regulations which have been provided. Then schemes for agribusiness promotion, outreach, extension, they are all part of the government outreach towards this sector. Even various agriculture universities are being provided funds to go in for extension services, wherein agribusiness promotion, outreach, extension can be done. Startups are being opened through agricultural universities, and some of them are doing very, very well. Then there are numerous regulations governing the food sector, and agribusiness sector should operate within those regulations. Certain regulations are specific to the food sector, certain others are general for any industry. So, we can go in for a case study also, how if you are able to strengthen the marketing system, develop a marketing system, you can go in for increase in revenue for our farmers. Normally, it has been seen that fruits and vegetables are sold through middlemen. There are numerous layers of middlemen, and the farmer in terms of his own revenue gets a very small amount, whereas a consumer at the last stage, he is spending a lot, and most of the money is being pocketed by the traders. So, in Punjab, a concept of apni mandi was floated. Apni mandi is a farmers market basically. So, farmers can directly come to these apni mandis and they can sell their vegetables or fruits, and they can get a better remuneration for their products. So, in this basically infrastructure facilities like market yard or lighting etc. are provided, extension services of relevant departments are also pooled in, and benefit goes to the farmers who are part of this apni mandi. So, different benefits would include subsidies, better quality seeds, loans at reasonable rates of interest from the bank, and it also provides self-employment to producers and removes the social inhibition among them for retail sale, because sometimes farmers have an inhibition to sell directly, but that inhibition is reduced through this organized apni mandi. Apni mandis are being organized in about 23 cities and towns of the state, and it has been seen through evaluation studies that it is a blessing for the farmers who are part of it, and especially small farmers who can directly sell to the end user can make a good profit out of this. With this, we come to the end of our presentation, and I would like to thank you for a patient hearing. Thank you.